Hi, I'm Cathy. You may recognize my hands from previous videos, but you probably don't recognize my face. I am not comfortable in front of a camera, and it has taken a pandemic for me to finally film facing the camera. In April, I offered a class to my customers called my a la carte card class. And they were to match up with me 4 different stamp sets. And I had 4 people sign up, and it took 14 projects to get us to match up so that they could get their kits. So I have a lot of projects that are going to be coming up on my channel in the next couple of days. This introduction will be on each and every one of them, but it will, down in the bottom here, show you the minute mark of where you can skip this introduction and go on to the card making. They will be put in a playlist called April a la carte card class. That's so hard to say. And each one will have that description, the person who signed up for the card, and the stamp set. And that way, as you're making your projects, you can just go to your 4 projects. Those of you that are just watching to get inspiration, you're welcome to look at any and all of them. And I hope you enjoy it. I hope you stay healthy and safe during this pandemic, and hope that we can all begin to get back together stamping very soon. This card is for Marie, and it is using the Parisian Beauty stamp set. And here's the card, and there is the inside. I'm using the Parisian dies and also the Stitch So Sweetly dies, and it's this largest rectangle here that I'll be using. For cardstock, for this card, you'll have a 5.5 inch by 8.5 inch petal pink base, a piece of Whisper White for the inside of the card that measures 4 by 5.25 inches, a piece of basic gray that measures 3 7/8 by 5 1/8, and you will cut out that largest rectangle from the Stitch So Sweetly dies out of the center of that. Since this will be a matting, it will be hidden, and you'll be using that for the inside, or I'm sorry, the outside. You'll be using a piece of the Parisian Blossom Designer Series paper, and this piece measures 3 3/4 inches by 5 inches. You'll also need a piece of the Script Designer Series paper from the Parisian Blossoms as well, and that measures 2.5 inches by 3 5/8. So that's 2.5 by 3 5/8 on that. You'll need a piece of champagne foil that measures 2 1/4 by 5 in order to get 2 of these flourishes out of it. And I will give you a helpful hint on this in a moment as we're assembling this card. You will need a piece of Blackberry Bliss that measures 1.5 inches by 3 3/4 inches, and that'll be die cut with the Amour. You'll need a little strip of the basic gray that is at least 4 1/4 inches long, and this is just one side edge of this rectangle, same die. So you're just going to be cutting just a little section of that. So you just need a scrap piece to get that. You'll need also a scrap piece of basic gray that measures 1.5 inches by 2 inches or thereabouts. If it's a little bit smaller, that's fine. It's actually only to get this little piece stamped here. Then you'll need a piece of the Designer Series paper that measures 3/4 inches by 4 inches. And finally, you will need a piece of watercolor paper. And this measures 3.5 inches by 5 inches. And so we're going to work with this first, and then we're going to set it to the side, and we'll come back to it and after letting it dry a little bit. So I'm going to use the Petal Pink ink, and I'm going to go ahead and squeeze to get it in the base. I want to make sure that I don't have any color in my aqua painter. Now this one, it's great if it's an aqua painter that releases a lot of water. Some of them release more than others. And I do want it releasing a lot of water. So I'm going to kind of squeeze it till I know that I've got a lot of water. And I don't yet on this one. There we go. All right, so I'm going to just give it a wash of water. And I'm squeezing again to even get more. And I'm giving it a good wash of water. Then I'm going to come in and pick up some color and add that color to that wash. This will lighten up, so you do want to get it a little bit deeper in some areas. So give it a good wash like that, and then we'll set that to the side for now. And we'll come back to it in a few minutes. We want to get that dried, because if it's not dry, it doesn't die cut very well, nor does it stamp on. And we're going to be stamping our Eiffel Tower onto that. Okay, so let's talk about these little flourishes. Now, in the past, we had double-sided adhesive sheets that you could place on the back and then die cut, and it was really great for securing these fine things down with. And what's really great news is those will be back. They are coming back in the new catalog. But in the interim, if you don't have any, this is the trick that I have. Place some strips of double-sided tape where you're going to be putting your die. So let me find my die. It's right here. So what I'm doing is you can just kind of decide where on the front you're going to be putting it onto your cardstock like this, or your foil. And then just kind of trip it up sideways, and then you can kind of keep track of where it is, and run a few pieces of the double-sided tape along the back. And then when you pull this off, you'll have some of that adhesive along those areas, and it'll lay down. So I'll show you that in a minute. So let's go ahead and start assembling this card, and then we'll get back to that watercolor piece. So first we'll take our script, and that is going to attach right down on top of this rectangular piece. And just try and get it as even as you can. And then we'll take this designer series piece and place it onto this gray. Now this is going to probably have some exposed adhesive on the inside here, so you want to make sure that it doesn't grab a hold of your grid paper. And I know somewhere here close by I have a silicone sheet, but I'm not seeing it. So in a pinch, if you take your covers for your dies, that works too, and it won't stick to that. So we can use that to protect it. So as you can see, if it sticks, it'll still pop up from it. So that's just a little trick if you can't find your silicone mat. Then we're going to put that onto our card front. And this one does not appear to have a direction onto it. Yeah, it actually does seem to have a little bit of a direction. So let's make sure that those flowers are facing up. And they are. So we'll put that there. This one we are going to put on dimensionals. But let's go ahead and attach these first. So when I peel them off, and just kind of be careful, and you'll be bringing some of that adhesive with you. And we'll be soon getting back the other, which will be wonderful. That will allow you to secure down the whole thing. And check and make sure, so you can, I'm not sure if you can see here, there are pieces of the backing of the double-sided tape. So I'm going to pull those off. And otherwise it's gone. And I'm going to place one up here like this. And hopefully we have enough of that double-sided tape. And I'm going to just take my bone folder and press down on that and get that secured down in those places. And then I've got another one here, and again I've got the double-sided tape on it. So I'll peel that off again. Come on, you. And again, I'm going to check and see if there's anywhere that the double-sided tape backing is, and it doesn't look like it. And I'm going to place this one down here, just like that. And don't worry about these overlapping here. They'll be hidden behind our Eiffel Tower. Just get those down. And I'll go ahead and snip that loose part off. You don't need to do that, but then I'll put it on dimensionals. And place it right there. Okay, then on this little piece here, we'll be stamping the little fleur-de-lis in Blackberry Bliss. Just like that. And then the inside of the card, we'll get the sentiment. You're the joy of my life, and place that in here. Now, I'm not sure if you've noticed, but this Blackberry Bliss ink, I think it's because it's such a deep, rich color. It has a ton of dye in it. And because of that, it doesn't dry quickly. So you want to make sure that you set those aside and let them really dry. Otherwise, they will do what this one did, which is smear just a little bit. It looks like it's dry, but it actually smeared on my finger because it just takes a little bit of extra time to dry. So be careful of that. So we're going to set those two aside to dry, and this one will end up needing to be die cut. So we can then take this guy here, and you're going to need your mini glue dots. And this one's a tough one to attach, something like this, if you're wanting it popped up. If you're flat, then you use the double-sided tape technique. But this is raised up, and so I'm wanting to hide some of these dimensionals along the back. So I'm going to cut along these outside edges, and I'm going to do super narrow little pieces, and I'm going to get one like this, and like this one will be fine along the A here. Just like that. And we'll get the next one, and again, I want it really narrow. And this time I'm going to hold it and cut it in half. And this will go along this R. And fortunately, there are areas that are a little wider than others. And so that's where I'm going to place these. And somewhere I have some really fine tweezers, which probably would do this better than my nails, but here they are. Okay. There. Sometimes it's easier to pull this backing off of it before it goes down. So if this is like, oh, heck no, I'm not going to do that, then you could put a little backing of some sort behind it, or, you know, whatever seems to work for you. So I think I've got enough of it for there. Okay, so we'll set that to the side until after we have our Eiffel Tower cut out. So this should be dry enough now that I'm going to put this piece and this. And so this is going to go along the back. So I'm going to put some, whoops, adhesive along the back here. And that is going to go onto here just below the stitching. And as you can see, I have a little tab over here I want to trim off. And one on this side as well. And then that can then be placed on the bottom of the inside of my card. And that can go in here. If you want to be really careful about your Blackberry Bliss ink, you can always use your heat tool to make sure it's dry. Okay, so now we're ready for the watercolor piece. So let's see. Feels like it's still a little bit damp. So let's go ahead and get my heat tool out. And I'm going to go ahead and stop for videotaping for a minute while I dry this. Okay, I'm back and this is all nice and dry. So I'm going to ink up my Eiffel Tower with my basic gray. And my basic gray, for some reason, dries out so easily, even though it's just been re-inked. So I'm going to really try and get a lot of ink on it. And hopefully I get a good impression. There we go. And then I'm also going to take the fleur-de-lis and do that as well in the Blackberry Bliss. And stamp that over here. Okay. And again, like I said, you want to make sure that this is good and dry before you run it through the die cutter and potentially have it smear. So I'm going to go ahead and run the heat tool on it again and then cut these out, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, as you can see, I've got my Eiffel Tower and the 2 fleur-de-lis all cut out. So now we can finish assembling the card. So we'll go ahead and turn this over and get those minis back out and put them on the tower. And I'll just stick a regular size one here in the center. And place my tower right here in the center. And then my gray fleur-de-lis is going to have some adhesive over on this side, on the left side, and then a little mini glue dot over on this side. And I'm going to place that right down here. And then I'll get that amore. It looks like I lost one here. And make sure that all my little pieces, backing pieces, have been removed. And actually this one on the middle of the M I'm going to pull off because that's going to be right across my tower. Okay. And place that right like that. Okay, and then on the inside of my card, I've got this little guy here, and I think I'm going to go ahead and pop him up. Sometimes I don't do dimensionals on the inside of the card, but sometimes I do. Your choice on what you want to do. And we'll place that right there. So that, Marie, is your card using Parisian Beauty, which is retiring on June 2nd. So I hope you enjoyed that. I forgot the one final thing we need to do, and that is to put our 3 little rhinestones on the card. And so I've got one of each size, and the smallest one is going to go down here. The largest is going to go here, and the medium one, oh, there it is going to go up here. So there we go. Now our card is complete. So I hope you enjoyed this card, Marie. Take care.